Hello everyone and welcome back to Gran Turismo 7 and 2, the beginning of another season of Trans Am racing. This is the World Tour. We start off here at Daytona. We'll be heading to Interlagos, the Nürburgring, Bathurst and Tsukuba later in the season. It's going to be really awesome. A few rule changes heading into this season from the previous. Cars are heavier, 1265 kilograms minimum weight, 650 horsepower at max and 650 performance points for those who speak Gran Turismo. Sports tyres and tyre requirements for every race in some form, but of course rules vary. But anyway, for this first round at Daytona we have a 125 lap race lined up. Unfortunately I will not be driving the Superboat as much as I would love to. It just wasn't quite fast enough around this circuit. So we're going to be in the Ford GT40 for this one. But anyway, I think to understand what happened in this race, it's important to understand what happened on the lead up to it. Because from the very beginning, oval racing proved to be something quite unique for us. As we'll go through a few little clips of what happened in practice. This is a brief moment where we went 4 wide and then the third car in the line decided to try to head into pit lane because they were out of fuel. Didn't go so well and caused a little bit of chaos. And that's just one example as you know, we were trying to learn the craft, I suppose. But yeah, 4 wide, that's a bit crazy. You don't get that on a circuit. But yeah, this is a couple of different angles of it. But you know, even from the very beginning, tuning cars for this event was something quite unique. As you know, we were from the start, we were taking out the racing brake kits because they just add to your performance points, and you don't really need brakes when you're racing at Daytona. They're not really going to help you in terms of lap speed, so you can put the stock brakes back in, and that gives you more room to increase your horsepower, make the car lighter, or you know, give yourself more space elsewhere to improve the car in a more meaningful way. So yeah, it's already kind of strange to be doing that sort of thing, but also what proved to be very important, of course, is top speed, and no car could really match the top speed of the Ford GT40. This is what happens when your tyres go, by the way. Not good. Bang, into the barrier, and now you're in need of a pit stop. But yeah, sometimes the cars just didn't really want to behave. Of course, the Superboat was not a good choice. Like I already said, it just it's all right when you're on your own, but when you're trying to you know, weave around other cars, it just does its own thing and wants to hit every solid object in sight. But yeah, like I was saying, because the Ford GT40 was so quick and had such a great top speed and good fuel economy as well to go along with that, it forced everyone else in other cars to find some very unique ways to improve their own cars. I won't go into the details, but there is you know, ways you can set up the gearbox so that it sits in a very low rev range and at a very high speed, and that'll help save fuel. And they were doing a lot of bump drafting as well, which was probably the key thing. And as soon as you start doing that, you can of course both go faster and save massive amounts of fuel. So yeah, it's been an interesting lead up while we all, you know, figure out our own strategies and our own ways to go about the race. But yeah, it certainly was not without incident. In addition, we have unique to this round a strong slipstream setting, which you will definitely notice throughout the race, and we also have the boost turned on weak, which will slow down the leaders slightly and help the cars that are further back in the pack. So we will see that play out as well, and that will definitely provide some opportunities. It keeps the field close, and despite these cars having different top speeds naturally, by the end of the race everyone will still have a chance of winning if all goes to plan. If you make a mistake too close to the end and end up towards the back, you won't have a chance of recovering. But if something like this happens in the first half of the race, there is plenty of time, more than enough time to recover, which is absolutely fantastic. So I think without further ado, it is time we get into qualifying for the first round of the Trans Am Championship. Oh, they're doing the tango. That's nice. Alrighty then, so here we are for qualifying. It is expected that the Ford GT40 should get pole position with relative ease. That indeed was the case throughout all of practice, but you never know. Perhaps someone else has been hiding something up their sleeve. And we've also got Heafy in another Ford GT40, so just because we're driving this car, it may not all go our way, but we will see. Unfortunately, we do have a lot of cars in front of us already, so no clear track for our outlap. We'll see if we can pass as many people as possible before we actually start our flying lap. And because we are, for the speeds we're achieving, we actually have fairly low horsepower, I would say, so it does take us a while to build up the speed, and more than a lap of Daytona really. So our fastest lap may not be our first flyer, because we haven't had a chance to actually reach our top speed yet. It's only going to be a few kilometers an hour difference as we cross the line, but it may translate to a few hundredths, a few tenths, whatever it is we might need to gain the advantage. So anyway, qualifying at Daytona, not too much to talk about really. Slipstream is a big deal for everyone else. I prefer, with the natural speed of this car, to be out in front, not bothering with all that. And we'll see how we go on our first flying lap as we come across the line. It's a decent time, a 40.20, but it's actually not fastest. Artsy has put in a smashing time for what that car is, the Firebird Trans Am, and it is probably the next best car to this, but nothing has ever come close to this in qualifying. Very rare that anything else could set a 40 point anything. They've usually been in the 41s, 42s, so they've had a massive slipstream or push there to make that work. So now I'm worried. I don't even know if I'll get pole position. If I can improve on that first lap, I'll get there, and we'll see what happens as we come around to the line. This time we do improve and move up to P1, and that might just secure pole position for us, but who knows. With that time from Artsy earlier, it's very possible that they can improve again, so we'll see. But yeah, we are achieving massive speeds here as we head down towards turn 3, well north of 360 kilometers an hour, and I've seen, depending on the wind direction, 367 heading into that corner, so it's massive speed we're generating here. Actually found it faster just to hug the inside line than to try and take a more natural out-in-out racing line through the banked corners. But regardless, it's worked for us, and we've managed to take pole position just a few hundredths of a second ahead of Artsy. That was far closer than I expected it to be honest. I knew they were going to be there in the race, but in qualifying, that is an exceptional job by the next few cars there to be so close to the GT40. So yeah, that is crazy. But as you can clearly see, the Firebird Trans Am, second, third, fourth, easily the next best car. Heafy in the other GT40. What are you doing, mate? That is yeah, fairly average at qualifying. Then we have Jester and Sparrow. They were in a separate voice chat party to the rest of us in the Mac 1s, and so were Joken and Furbz in the Mustang Bosses. They were, doing their own thing as well, and that's because they wanted to work together. In both cases, Jester and Sparrow wanted to work together and communicate without interference from everyone else's nonsense, and same with Joken and Furbz. They were also doing their own thing. Furbz is street styling, by the way. What else was I going to say? There was something else about names. Oh yeah, Park Ferme is now sbananotto.rfd, which I believe is retired Ferrari driver or something like that. But anyway, yes, Banananotto. That is a name. Anyway, that's qualifying over, and with that we have actually scored the first point of the season for pole position. So we're actually, I didn't record the voice chat audio because that would make commentating the video kind of awkward to do, but we were all making jokes about just ending the championship here or retiring now, quitting while I'm ahead, etc. But anyway, yeah, that is a good start. We'll have a clean air in front of us as we go racing at the start of this one. So without further ado, I think it is time we get into it. Alrighty then, so here we are lined up on the grid for the start of the first round of the Trans Am Championship here at Daytona. It is myself on pole position ahead of Artsy, starting in P2 in the Firebird Trans Am. Another Firebird, the psychedelic 60s car of Chevy, starting in third position. And then it is the rip-off Marlboro car of Simon, also known as Banananotto. Then it is Heafy in the other Ford GT40, and then it is Jester next in number 10 Mac 1. Behind Jester is the other Mac 1 of Sparrow. They were together in qualifying. And it is Cousin Ren, also in a Trans Am, non-engine swapped, though the other ones have the engine swap. Next is Ash in the Camaro, not seen as the car of choice. We'll see how that goes. Then it's Furbz in the first of the Mustang Bosses, and Joken rounding off the grid. These two chose not to qualify. So yeah, they're just going to play it safe. They have their strategy, as do we and everyone else. We all know, roughly what we're going to do throughout the race. A notable absence, by the way, is John Teeter. He'll be back for the remainder of the rounds, I believe. Anyway, it's time to boogity, 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 boogity. Let's go racing here at Daytona. And towards the first corner we go. We're immediately down into fuel map 6 because we do not need to be spending any additional fuel at this stage of the race. We'll think about pushing when we get to the last 10 or 15 laps. But up until then, it is save, save, save. Extend the stints as long as possible. Make as few pit stops as we can. And yeah, we'll see what happens. But we've got a decent enough start. We've got a very small gap to the group of cars behind us. So, that's comfortable enough. And we'll just push on through the first 100 laps or so and see how everything unfolds. Throughout practice, though we did much, we never actually did a full distance race. The most we ever did was half distance, so there are still various unknown factors as we have a look at a replay of the start. Heafy just wobbles off the road as we get rolling. I don't know what that was about. Clearly he was not ready, but soon gets going again, and will take no time at all to catch up to the field in the GT40. But what that did is it created a little bit of a gap between the top 4 and everyone else, and that gap only grew larger and larger over the next couple of laps, and yeah, it was quite strange because that's not something we've really seen, where the pack had split into 2 distinct groups, and in our voice chat, we started referring to the second, much larger group of cars as the peloton, because that's really what it felt like. All of them were all together, working together in the early phases of the race as Heafy catches up to the peloton and begins to make some progress through that group of cars. But then there was, the group of, I think 4 of us out in front, just trying to, I wouldn't say push, we weren't burning fuel unnecessarily, but yeah, we just had better natural pace, I suppose, at the start, and once they lost the slipstream, they couldn't keep up. There's Heafy going full send to get some time back. I'm sure Heafy's got the fuel map turned up and is spending some of that fuel to just try and close the margin to the group ahead. But yeah, this group of us out in front was really starting to make some headway as Heafy come into the pits very early in this race. Not sure why, but yeah, strange strategy for Heafy. We'll see how it goes. New tyres and fuel though for the GT40, and he'll come out of pit lane, but quite a way behind. In fact, he's just lost the lead lap, so that's unfortunate, but that does give you an opportunity when you fall that far back, and I do wonder if this is what Heafy was planning. He got a bit stuck down on the apron and got a penalty for cutting the corner, which can happen when you come out of pit lane into a group of cars. You can't get back onto the circuit immediately sometimes, but here's the onboard with Heafy, and you can see he's just set the fastest lap of the race, and it's a very good one. It's faster, miles faster than qualifying, and you can see the difference between his GT40 and my GT40 at the moment. He's going about 30-40 k's an hour faster at least, probably. It's just insane. It's the speed you get when you have the full effect of the boost are ridiculous. There have been whispers of 400 kilometers an hour, though I'm not going to confirm that. But anyway, it's very, very powerful when you fall more than a lap behind, and Heafy sets an absolutely smashing lap time there. A low 38 is going to be tough for anyone to beat, including myself in another GT40. But Heafy continues to push on and spend the fuel, but has already effectively made up for that pit stop, moving up into the top 5. So that's interesting, that the boost is that powerful, but you can see the difference in track position, where I am in the top right corner of the map, and everyone else in the peloton going through turn 2 at the moment. Now it's so strange. Like I said, throughout all of our practice races, this never happened, that we had 2 such distinct packs like this. Very weird. Anyway, there's a moment. That is Heafy losing it there. Not sure exactly how that happened. You got the reset though. Spent too much time off the road, and when you do that and come back on, you get reset all the way back to where you went off. So that's unfortunate for Heafy, and he drops back into last position and does all the good work he just did, getting back into contention. But he'll get back once again as a few more pit stops begin to play out. Something strange happened there. It didn't properly register Chevy going into pit lane, at least at my end, but eventually that resolves itself. Chevy gets a new set of tyres and fuel. Artsy is in pit lane as well, and they are the first of the lead contenders to come in for a pit stop. But yeah, that will allow Jester and Sparrow to gain a few spots for the time being as they lead the second pack. But myself and the Banana come into pit lane, and we will fit the medium tyres on now. We started on the softs, So we're going to get the tyre requirement out of the way early. It's a little bit redundant because tyre compound doesn't really affect anything here. But some cars do suit particular compounds better, depending on tyre wear of the car and the tyres, etc. So yeah, there is a difference for some cars, but certainly not for the GT40. But anyway, 4 tyres and fuel for both of us, as now Jester and Sparrow come into the pit lane as well, and I imagine they will also be taking 4 tyres and fuel for both of them, and they will be ready for the next stint, which will you know, take us all to the mid-40s in laps. So my strategy is very, very simple. This car can do 22, 23 laps, something like that. So I'm literally just going to pit lap 22, 44, 66, 88, and 110. If I can extend any of the stints further, I'll go for it. But as long as I can stick to that strategy, I'll be very happy. And that'll give us about 5 laps of fuel map 1 to use at the end of the race. Maybe a little bit more if I'm feeling daring. Anyway, Cousin Ren is into the pits now, as is Ash. So the two of them getting ready for the next stint, and we'll drop towards the back of the field with the pit stop. Heafy in pit lane as well, and no tyres for Heafy, and this is something we'll see quite often throughout the race. You know, not taking tyres in pit stops. You know, when it's not necessary, it does save a few seconds, so it is, you know, occasionally worth doing. But for me, I took new tyres every time. It's what I did throughout practice, and I don't mind losing a few seconds to make sure I've got fresh tyres on the car. But anyway, with, you know, our track position down a little bit, I decided this would be a good opportunity for us to go for the fastest lap. I don't know if we'll be able to take it from Heafy, but I thought I would give it a go and see what we could do as we come around the final turn towards the finish line. Now, what is our lap time going to be? It's not even close. It's a 41.0, slower than qualifying. So even with you know, not running in the lead, the track position was still working against us, and the boost was slowing us down, and we were almost 3 seconds away from Heafy's time. Meanwhile, we have just seen Cousin Ren lapping himself from Furbz and Joken, who lead the way yet to make a pit stop in this race, extending the first stint very, very long. So be interesting to see what they're doing. But yeah, it's been a very good first stint when you can extend to such a long way. Meanwhile, Ash, Sparrow and Jester in the middle there, doing a bit of Newton's cradle action as they now make their way around Joken and Furbz. The three cars bumping along the straight there, and you know, the slipstream for the two behind, the bumps for the ones ahead, helping them with their speed and fuel economy. Anyway, eventually Joken and Furbz will have to come in for their pit stops, but only on lap 31 in the race, so they've gotten about 50% further than some of us who pit. I think the earlier ones, Artsy and Chevy, were lap 21, so yeah, they've gone a very, very long way in the stint. And that is a strong opening account in this race from Joken and Furbz. We'll have a little run through the order. It is myself in the race lead, Artsy running in second position. Third place is the Banana ahead of Chevy in P4. Fifth position and gaining massive time in that pit stop phase is Cousin Ren. That car is very fuel economical. And then it is Sparrow, Jester, Ash and Heafy all in a group together, all pushing along. So that's the sort of biggest group of cars on circuit at the moment. Heafy in the GT40 trying to push that train along. And then further back it is Joken and Furbz towards the back of the field, and still in contention, because the boost will push them along, and they'll be catching up in no time. So that's where we all stand at the moment in this race. We'll see how the rest plays out, but that is the current track position. We move on a few laps. This is lap 35. Cousin Ren enters pit lane. Not sure why Ren's in for such a short stint. No new tyres going on, just fuel. And a few laps later, Chevy follows suit on lap 39. So yeah, I don't know what Ren was doing there. Perhaps just not happy running alone with no one to slipstream with. But anyway, we now look to Artsy, who also comes into the pits, lap 41 for Artsy. So, you know, doing 20-21 lap stints so far in this race. Similar to us, we can go a few more laps, but overall the strategy's not too dissimilar, though they'll need to extend a little bit more, or potentially make one more pit stop than us to make it work on their current mileage. But anyway, there goes Joken and Furbz getting through. That'll give us a little bit of slipstream for a while. It's in fuel map 6, it's impossible to keep up with someone who's a lap down with the full effect of the boost. So you know, we can use it to get some slipstream for a while, but we just can't keep up without spending the fuel, which I do not want to be doing. So yeah, anyway, we come into pit lane once again, right on schedule. Bananas in pit lane as well as Heafy, so all three of us in at once, and we'll see. It's now a race of the pit crews and refueling. So as we come out of pits, we see that they've actually come out in front of us. So they've been able to yeah, do shorter refuels and gain that track position. So yeah, we you know, like I said, we did go for that fastest lap. So you know, we did spend a bit of fuel unnecessarily in that stint, but you know, this is all just building up for the final few laps, so I'm not too worried at the moment. We'll catch up, and you know, we'll start worrying about our track position after the final pit stop. But up until then, it is all just you know, trying to get to the end in a good position, and right now we are still right on target. Sparrow comes into the pit lane along with Jester and Ash, all in at once. 4 tyres and fuel for all of them, and they get set for the next stint. Ash is just tagging along with these two, keeping up very well in that Camaro. But anyway, back on board with myself. Can see I'm doing something a bit weird here. We've dropped to a very low speed, relatively, just under 300 kilometers an hour. And I'm winding up for an attempt at the fastest lap of the race. We're in last position, a lap off the lead, getting blue flagged at the moment, so I do need to get a move on. So we've turned the fuel map up now. It won't be this lap though, it'll probably be the next one, but we'll see what we can do anyway to give us an indication as we come around the first couple of turns. That is already a green sector, so this will be a personal best. Regardless, even starting the lap in map 6 or building up the speed still. So yeah, this is going to be potentially a very, very fast lap coming up as we bring it around to start our real attempt at the fastest lap. It's already only a few tenths off Heafy's time as we head towards turn 1 with 398 kilometers an hour for a brief moment there. That is absolutely ridiculous. Not quite the mystical 400, but you're not going to get too much closer than that. A purple first sector into the 13-second range. That is just insane, unfathomable speed around here as we head through turns 3 and 4 and now up towards the finish line. What is our lap time going to be? It is surely going to be the fastest lap of the race. It's a 37.2. That is a lap time. Goodness me. Straight back down to fuel map 6 because we spent a lot of fuel doing that. But that will get us a bonus point for the fastest lap for sure. If anyone beats that, that will be very, very impressive. I think that's the fastest lap I've ever seen in any of the races. I don't think I've seen anything faster than that throughout practice. But that has helped us actually doing those laps, because now we're right on the back of Heafy, and we're going to make the move around the outside as we begin yet another lap. And we're up now into P5 with the help of those fast laps and a few pit stops for the others as well. So yeah, that should secure us a bonus point. So we've got the pole, we've got the fastest lap. If we want to complete the the trio, we just need to get the race win. But that's a long way away for now. Ren's in pit lane once again, and for a car that's so economical, Ren is making a lot of pit stops. And here comes Chevy as well, who I believe has also made quite the number of pit stops. No tyres going on for Chevy. Back on board with myself, and we're closing in steadily to Artsy and the Banana as we head along the back straight in the slipstream. We should be able to overtake these two. We might actually just coast behind them for a bit. Not sure what our plan is at the moment, because we do need to save some fuel once again. So actually, yeah, sitting behind these two might not be a bad idea. There. Oh, okay, that was some very intelligent driving there. Goodness me, I don't know what that was. I just looked back at Heafy at the wrong moment, and yeah, just drove myself into the wall. Tried to let Heafy past, but he didn't want any of it, and all that sort of mucking around let Artsy and Banana also get away up the road. So that was unfortunate. We've got damage from that as well on the front end and the right front, so our car's not quite tracking in a straight line, but it's still drivable. When that gets too severe, you just have to be steering too much on the straight, and it's just not practical to be driving like that. But we're able to stay in the slipstream of Heafy, and in fact I soon realized that I think I could go faster on my own. So we got back past, and yeah, we'll move ourselves back up into the top 5, and yeah, we'll just need to hang out for the next pit stop to start getting those repairs done. It'll only take a few seconds, and the car will be back to normal, which is very good. So yeah, we'll continue to push on as Joken and Furbz come into the pit lane once again. So we don't see these too much. They're sort of off doing their own thing most of the time, separate to everyone else. So it'll be interesting to see where they re-emerge come the end of the race. But they're getting 30-ish laps from a stint, which is just insane. Artsy comes into the pit lane as well, onto lap 62 of the race now, and new set of tyres and fuel go in for Artsy. And I think, is that the Heafy crew in pit lane? Yes, it is. Heafy in the pit lane as well, same lap as Artsy. New tyres go on for Heafy, and a load of fuel as well, of course, for the next stint. Chevy also into pit lane, and tyres for Chevy. Meanwhile, we also have the Banana coming into pit lane, and it'll be more tyres going on as well as fuel for Banana Nosso. And the next round of pit stops is in full swing at the moment. Meanwhile, Chevy drives straight up into the wall there. What happened there? It's pretty similar to what I did, to be honest. Just yeah, wasn't paying attention, I suppose. Not sure, but somehow Chevy got away with that with no damage. I don't know how. Perhaps it never actually happened and that was a bit of lag. Not sure. Chevy's connection is a little bit dodgy at times, but yeah, that was strange. Gets around the outside of a whole bunch of cars though immediately, so there's clearly nothing too amiss with that car. But yeah, just drove straight up into the wall and wobbled back down. But yeah, I'm not sure what the cause of that one was. That was a bit of a strange one. Anyway, back on board with myself and we are on lap 66. And once again, we've been able to extend the stint long enough despite going for a few fastest lap attempts, and we've still managed to get to our target lap. Debating whether to go onto the softs or mediums, it probably doesn't really matter. Like I said, it's probably just possible to not change tyres at all and get to the end from here, but changing tyres is what I've been doing so far all the time, so why change now? I know changing tyres works. I don't want to be surprised and find out that the car becomes undrivable once the left side tyres start wearing out a bit more. So yeah, we'll change the tyres and just play it safe, as we have fully refueled the car in fast forward. Still took forever. Car's repaired, and we're back out racing again. And we're officially past the halfway mark in this race now. Halfway would have been 62.5 laps in, and we're already on to lap 67. So we're a few laps into the second half of the race, and we're currently down in last position after pitting from the lead. So still shows that everyone is within a pit stop, really, of each other. So yeah, it's very interesting to see how this is all unfolding. But yeah, I guess everyone sort of, as my stints are extending slightly longer, gives everyone else the opportunity to essentially get the undercut with the effect of the boost. But we will be getting it back throughout the course of our stint, as we are now in last and getting the full effects of that. Not going to go for a fastest lap again though, as we're going to make our way past Ash, Sparrow, Jester and Ren along the back straight. Ren is in the race lead, and yeah, there is the speed differential that we have with the help of the boost. Fuel map 6, and we are doing speeds equivalent of not quite fuel map 1, but not far off when we have the full effect of the boost. But anyway, Jester and Sparrow, Team Mac 1, are in pit lane, and they are both going for some new tyres. And Ash in pit lane as well, who has still been tagged along with those two, just sitting behind the group and giving the bumps. Chevy in pit lane as well now, and I think this was a bit of a shorter stint for all this lot. It's around I think lap 73 when they all came in. Onto lap 74, Cousin Ren comes into the pits for yet another pit stop. And we also have Artsy in pit lane, as well as the Banana. And unfortunately for Banana Notto, they forgot to actually press the button to accept the tyre change, and thus they are sitting in pit lane doing absolutely nothing, not refueling, not changing tyres, and they are still sitting there. Finally they realise and change the tyres, but that's a lot of time lost there, and not a great moment for Banana Notto. So they get racing once again. They come out right behind Artsy. Thankfully for them, they still have half a tank of fuel, so it's not a complete disaster, but that's certainly not an ideal situation in the slightest, and they still may have to make an extra pit stop. As Chevy, oh my goodness, he's just come up in front of us on the track. We were forced into the wall there, and that came out of nowhere. Our car is severely bent now, as we only just got it fixed a few laps ago, and we'll need to see that again, exactly what happened. But that was my life flashing before my eyes there. That is not what we want. We need to come into pits. This car is undrivable now. I'm just trying to keep it on the line without getting too much below it, otherwise we'll end up getting ourselves reset. Big cut of the pit entry line there, but I don't care. I just want to get this thing into pit lane. I don't want to risk missing pit entry. But what happened here? Like, we come out around the outside of I think Jester and Sparrow there, and I think Chevy just moved up the racetrack a bit. Here it is in super slow-mo. I saw Chevy was down on the inside line. I did turn in fairly sharply, but Chevy moved up, and at that point I had no time to react, and yeah, the contact was made. Wow. that happened so quickly too. You know, I would have been able to fit around the outside, but I would have had to have committed to that line to begin with. And I don't like running that close to the wall, so you know, I committed to sort of mid-track, but that was a big hit. Here's the speed differential, by the way. We were heading at, you know, into that corner 338 kilometers an hour, and we checked Chevy 252. So we were closing at 85 kilometers an hour speed difference, which you know, we just didn't have the time to react to that. We come into pits again and get ourselves fixed up, but yeah, that is without doubt an additional pit stop for us. We'll come out and see where we are, but yeah, that's a bit of a frustrating incident, but anyway, we'll push on from that and see how it goes. But yeah, that's knocked us back to last position on track as we serve the penalty and almost lose control. Such is the instability of this car on the brakes. It's fine for Daytona. Once we get to circuits, I'll need to actually do some tuning work. I'm actually running stock suspension for this. It's absolutely fine for Daytona on stock suspension. Handles really well actually, but and the downforce too is completely stock. No aero bits have been applied, so yeah, really the only tuning is a little bit on the gearbox and the power upgrades and some ballast as well. But anyway, we go on board with Heafy here. A bit of a wobble, big wobble into the wall there. The field goes by, and Heafy, what was that about, mate? I was just talking about how stable this car is, but Heafy does not have a stable tune. That is clear. And yeah, that's a weird one there for Heafy. And he's lost a bunch of time out of that. Meanwhile, back on board with myself. Heafy's in front of us now, and he's having a moment again. And again, we've been forced, well, not forced into the wall, but just, yeah, clipped Heafy and sort of ricocheted ourselves off to the side into the wall there. And once again, we have damage. I'm not going to pit this time. The car's still tracking relatively straight. So, yeah, that's the third incident in quick succession where we found ourselves with damage. The first one was our fault. Second one and the third one, just unfortunate timing, I think, is the best way to put it. But anyway, we're on the back of Jester and Furbz, who are the race leaders yet again in this race, and I'm being very cautious at the moment because the last thing I want to do is take out these two while I'm trying to deal with the steering damage. But anyway, we'll make our way around the outside as we get a little bit wobbly through the corner there. Not too bad though, and yeah, just trying to drive smoothly with the damage is going to be a challenge for a while, but we need to do probably 8 more laps in this stint. But here's the replay. Heafy lost it, and Corder lost it again, and yeah, come back up, and at that point we sort of run out of time to react. You know, in my mind I thought he was just going to spin off to the inside, so I didn't, you know, try and react too much, and then by the time I realized he was coming back towards me, it was too late. But anyway, after the failure of a pit stop last time, the banana comes back into pit lane and gets a full tank of fuel this time. Meanwhile, we go back on board with myself. The car's still bent, but we do catch up to the back of the field, and Ash still tail ends this train, and I think I'm just going to sit here for now. I don't want to risk actually making overtakes with the car handling the way it is. It's not pretty, but it still works. And now Jester and Furbz come into pit lane once again for yet another pit stop, and it's been yet another fairly long stint for those two. So they're working the magic and running some very good stints in this race. Chevy comes into pit lane next, and will also take on a load of fuel for the next stint as we go back on board with myself. We're on to lap 86 of the race now, and we're still tucked in behind Ash, Sparrow, Jester and Cousin Ren in this train. This train has existed for a while in this format, as into the pits ahead of us goes Artsy. We'll come into the box as well, and we'll fit a set of the soft compound tyres. Into the box comes Artsy, and it'll be more tyres and fuel for the Firebird Trans Am, and we too will of course make our way in, and tyres and fuel for us as we start to think about the end of this race now. We came in on lap 89, we extended a lap longer than what I was planning to, mostly just because I forgot to come into the pits on lap 88, and this will get us to essentially the critical lap for us, lap 110. That's what I'm aiming for. If we can go any further, that is fantastic, but lap 110 is the earliest I'll stop before going to the end, but if I can push it any further, I'll do it, and that'll just give us even more fuel to play with for the closing stages of the race. So lap 90 now, we're really getting into the later stages as we are closing into the back of Artsy. We're going to be able to make the move, or we might just sit behind and conserve the fuel as Artsy goes for the move around the outside, as we do need to get ourselves back onto the lead lap as we make our way through on all of this lot. Ash, Ren, Jester, Sparrow, we get past them all, and that will not quite put us back on the lead lap. We still have Heafy out in front, the race leader at the moment. So yeah, that's kind of where we stand. We will just maybe stay in Ash's slipstream, in Artsy's slipstream for a while. Why do I keep getting their names mixed up? It's ridiculous. But anyway, yeah, we'll stay in Artsy's slipstream for a bit, and we'll see if Artsy, well, I was going to say if he can tow us towards Heafy, but Heafy comes in for a pit stop anyway, and as does Sparrow and Jester following Heafy in, and I imagine yeah, and there's Ash also in the pit lane following Sparrow and Jester. So those three have been working together for, it feels like, the majority of the race at this point. It's been a long time with those two, as we go back on board with myself right behind Artsy as we are on lap 93 of the race, and we'll probably grab a couple of positions here as we do get past Artsy and make that move. As we begin yet another lap of the race, we get past the cars in pit lane. That moves us all the way up into 5th position now. So yeah, again, track position probably not anything you know, worth getting excited about at the moment. It is all about how much fuel we have to play with at the end, which will determine where we finish. But anyway, Sparrow and Jester have decided it is time to go, as Sparrow had a little bump into the wall there, but these two are pushing now, and yeah, that was just an awkward little awkward bump, and I think Sparrow got a bit of damage out of that, unfortunately, so that'll need to get fixed up in the next pit stop. But yeah, those two are they've already decided it's go time in this race. They're going to be spending the fuel for the last 2 stints and doing somewhat shorter ones for those two. So it's an interesting way to do it, but we'll see if it works. See if it works for them. But oh, Heafy, is he having another moment there? This is a little bit wild following Heafy around the track, I will say, at times. That car is clearly not stabilised as Heafy gets past Joke and the Furbz grinding against the barrier there on the outside. We'll have the slipstream from Heafy here. We'll see if we can make the move. We're not close enough, and we'll stay behind through the corner, lift and coast, save the fuel, and yeah, we'll see as up in front of us it looks like Chevy is in pit lane once again. We'll go for the move now on Heafy, as he pretty much did what I did into that barrier, but I think Heavey lost control to do that rather than stop paying attention. But as I mentioned, Chevy has come into the pit lane once again, so yeah, Chevy making so many pit stops in this race. New tyres and fuel going on for Chevy, and you could feasibly get to the end of the race from here. It would definitely be a stretch as Heafy gets back past us, but you could do it, so maybe that's why Chevy is into the pit lane now. But anyway, back behind Heafy. We'll just go back to sitting in the slipstream, coasting when we can, and yeah, we'll see where that gets us. But anyway, that is Ash scraping along the barrier there. Plenty of sparks out the side of that Camaro. As further back into the pit lane comes Artsy once again, and no tyres going on for Artsy, just fuel in that pit stop. As we look to the trio we've mentioned so many times, but only Ash coming into the pits this time, and Ash will be the first to make their final pit stop. It'll be a long final stint, but we'll see how it goes for the Camaro. Meanwhile, back on board with myself, we're up into 4th position on track now, and still a long way away from our final stop, lap 104, as we see Sparrow and Jester going past on the right hand side. We'll drop in behind them, and that was actually a pass for position with those two. So yeah, that means we are, you know, genuinely racing Sparrow and Jester. Remember how far back they dropped off at the start in the opening stint in that group of cars that fell half a lap behind, but as the race has played out, they have played themselves back into contention, as we saw a pit stop there for the Banana, as into the pits go Sparrow and Jester as well, and that will be, I believe, their final pit stop. I don't think you'll be making any more beyond this point. So Jester in pits as well as Sparrow, new tyres and a load of fuel to the end of the race going on for Sparrow and Jester, and they should refuel enough to get to the end and be able to push on all the way there in a high fuel map. Meanwhile, we are at lap 108, and Artsy, what on earth was that? That was a very aggressive maneuver there. I don't know why he felt the need to chop across in front of us so aggressively there, but Artsy getting through, and yeah, that was just weird. Here's the onboard, bit of contact with Ren there, gave Ren a bit of a boost. Lucky not to take Ren out of the race, but just chopped in front of us so suddenly there. I wouldn't say it was dangerous because Artsy had the speed, but yeah, I don't know what kind of maneuver that was covering, because we were never going to be coming back against Artsy with that kind of speed. And oh, Chevy's, or we say, oh, he doesn't save it, he's into the side of Banana there, and Banana goes spinning as well. Chevy's into the pit lane, both of them. Race potentially ruined. It's fairly late in the race to be having this kind of incident, as Banana Notto finally gets moving again. But what on earth just happened between these two? And a forced pit stop there for Chevy as he went spinning off in that direction. But goodness me, what on earth was that? That looked weird from the beginning. Chevy looked high and you know, potentially trying to get through. And looked like the Banana moved up either to try and cover, or maybe they just wandered up higher on the racetrack, you know, unintentionally. But that was weird. Yeah, Chevy got forced up into the wall regardless, and a bit of contact with Ash behind sort of triggered the next little sequence. We'll go on board, looking rearward, and yeah, Chevy committed to the high line to try and maybe sneak around the outside, and then this, yeah, just got turned around as Chevy was trying to recover. So that's a real shame for all involved there, as yeah, I don't know, it was strange. Chevy to the outside, got a little bit of overlap, and then Banana Notto just, yeah, moved up, and then I think they were all basically passengers from that point on, especially Chevy. From that point, you know, a bit of contact there with Ash certainly didn't help, but there wasn't a lot Ash could have done in that situation with the incident playing out, you know, just milliseconds in front. Yeah, that's an awkward one between those three, and it could have potentially ruined the race for Chevy and Banana Notto, but we'll see how it plays out for the rest of the race. It's borderline. With Chevy, at least he can take a full load of fuel and burn it all to the end and see what happens. But anyway, we're on to lap 110 now, so this is where I was thinking about making a pit stop, but I can push things a little bit further. So that is exactly what we are going to do, as into the pits comes Heafy for the final time in the GT40, and no tyres going on for Heafy, just fuel to the end. So that is the strategy of choice. It'll save a few seconds, might help Heafy, you know, might help him stay in front. But anyway, also into the pits comes Cousin Ren for the final time, and no tyres going on for Ren, and also Joken and Furbz also into the pits. Plenty of action here down in the pit lane. New tyres and more fuel going on for the pair of them as we finally come in for our pit stop. Lap 112, we pushed it a little bit further, and that will, you know, those 2 extra laps, that's 2 more laps of fuel map 1 that we can use. So, you know, just as I was trying to hastily do the maths, I think we've got 7 or 8 laps of map 1 that we can use throughout the rest of the race, and I want to save it all for, you know, the end as late as possible. So we come out of pit lane, we are down in 9th position, lap 113 of 125, not long to go now. Essentially the fuse has been lit and this race is about to go off. As we build up the speed once again, we just need to conserve fuel for a few laps and we can go all out to the end. But as you've seen, a lot of people have already made their final stops. In fact, I think the only one who hasn't is potentially Artsy. In the race lead at the moment, we have currently Ash, but that changes right now as Heafy moves up into what is effectively the race lead, I should say. Artsy is in the race lead, but definitely still needs to stop, has no fuel left, and in comes Artsy to make that stop. And this is lap 115, so it'll be a 10 lap sprint for Artsy from here to the end. If they fill up, they can go flat out to the end, no question. So it's an interesting situation as we go on board with Cousin Ren, who's you know, right amidst the action in the midfield as Ash, I've done it again, is losing a bit of ground now. That early pit stop, now having to try and conserve fuel. It's not quite working for Ash at the moment. Ren helps though, big boost, and now goes for the move in between Ash, Jester and Sparrow. Tries to get to the inside of Jester and gets through as well. So now Cousin Ren takes the lead of the battle pack with Heafy a little further out in the actual race lead, and still doing a great job there. But on board now with the Banana, joining the back of the train after the mega spin earlier. What a comeback. That is just insane. So I think he's a little bit lower on fuel than some of the other cars around, as well as Ash, but still that is a great comeback. Meanwhile, that is Heafy in the race lead, and then we'll just run through the order at the moment. It's Ren ahead of Chevy, Jester, Sparrow side by side there for Ash and the Banana, and there's myself. The peloton's about 6 seconds behind the race lead. We're about 5 seconds behind the peloton, 13 seconds off the race lead. Joke and Furbz right behind us, and then here comes Artsy in last position, 33 seconds off the lead for Artsy. So that's the spread at the moment, but Artsy is absolutely flying, putting in some blistering lap times in the later stage of this race, and will be catching soon enough. Joker and Furbz, as I said, right on us, and starting to get a bit impatient, and they will be trying to get past me very soon. I'm not quite confident pushing to the end just yet. We need just a tiny bit more of fuel conservation, literally about half a lap, and then we can go. And look at that, it may just be timed perfectly because we are catching up to the field right now. And as we exit turn 2, we are going to turn it up to fuel map 1, and it's time to go as we head along the back straight. We'll get past Dash as the Banana's looking to the outside of Sparrow and tries to come up again, but we're already there on the outside. There's Sparrow, there's Jester, we're already up and into 4th position. We may be able to grab 2nd if we can keep holding this around the outside. And Chevy's trying to push Ren. It's not going to be enough. We'll make this move all the way around the outside, up into 2nd position, from 8th to 2nd in half a lap. That is the move of the race for me. It was risky trying to put it around the outside, as you know, we've seen before. If one of the cars drifts up, that can be game over. But we took the risk, we made it work, and that is potentially a race-defining move. Here it is on replay. I was a bit worried when I saw the Trans Am there, Banana Notto, starting to drift upwards, but thankfully we were left the space around the outside, and were able to go sweeping all the way around, and that has allowed us to take 2nd position with absolutely no time loss, and we can get chasing after Heafy once more. And it's going to be tough. Heafy has a massive lead at the moment, so we can only hope that we've timed our run perfectly, and perhaps Heafy may need to conserve a bit of fuel. But here we go, further back in the pack. We've got Furbz and Joker trying to do the same as I did, trying to, you know, push around the outside, and it's not quite working for them to the same effect as it did for us, as Cousin Ren is still leading the train for the moment, and has Chevy right in behind, pushing and trying to hold Joker and Furbz at bay, as Chevy goes high for a moment. And there are now 8 cars in this battle pack, all the way back to 10th position from 3rd. This is the fight for the podium, and it is literally anyone's game between this lot. It's all about who's conserved the most fuel, who has the best natural speed in the car, who can push the hardest, and who can race the smartest. At the moment, Cousin Ren's doing a great job, Chevy right behind, and everyone else flying in formation behind. Meanwhile, we check back on Artsy, who's gained massively on the group ahead already. It's hard to really tell, but that you know, cluster of cars is getting closer and closer for Artsy, and maybe Artsy can rescue something from this race after strategy seemingly has not worked at this current moment. Meanwhile, back in the group, Chevy has moved up into 3rd position, leader of the battle pack, although Ren wants it back down the inside, and Ren's off into the barrier, spinning around. What a disaster for Cousin Ren, and that is a game over for this race. He'll continue on to finish, but the hopes of a podium are well and truly slashed. Let's go on board and see what happened. Tried to sneak back down the inside of Chevy, and then what happened? Just on his own, off into the barrier. Just, yeah, got a bit of a slide on, couldn't recover. Got the reset to top it off. There goes Artsy, and Cousin Ren loses a whole heap of time there, and almost certainly has damage to the front of that car as well. Meanwhile, Furbz pushing Joken around the outside, as Chevy is still trying to hold third place, but tell you what, Joken and Furbz got a good run going here around the outside, and Furbz pushes Joken all the way up into third position. And that's a brilliant move by those two, and Furbz able to come through as well, so those two have moved up into third and fourth position now. That is a fantastic effort. And they've finally, after so many laps, been able to pull off that move around the outside. Back on board with myself then, as we've only got 2.5 laps to go in the race, and we're catching up to Heafy right when it matters most. As we do that, don't worry about that. We're in the slipstream of Heafy through the final corner, and we're going to have an opportunity to get past here as we sneak to the inside. Little hesitation, but we're there. We've got the overlap on the inside. Heafy tries to turn in, but we've already got the nose in, and Heafy finds himself grazing the outside barrier as we take the lead of the race with just 2 laps to go here at Daytona. And we've made that move at the most critical of moments, and now we just need to make sure Heafy can't come back at us in the slipstream. That's the biggest concern for us in this race now. He's dropped a fair way back, so that's given us a little bit of leeway. Here it is on replay. We were there on the inside for a long time before we got to the corner, and I'm 99% sure Heafy knew we were there. He tried to turn in and found out that cars are not made of air. Meanwhile, go back on board with myself. Artsy, what are you doing, mate? You're parking right next to the racing line, just about reversed in front of us. Goodness me. What was that? We go through turns 1 and 2 for the final time, and Artsy just about took out the race leaders as we were beginning the final lap. That was extremely bizarre, and we'll investigate that later. But right now, we're coming around the final corner for the final time on lap 125 of 125. It's been a long race. We've been going for more than an hour and a half. And at the end of it all, we're going to cross the line to take race victory here at Daytona in the first round of the Trans Am World Tour. Holy moly. Looks like there may have been a bit of action further back though. Chevy managed to get up into third position, and Cousin Red, after that spin, is up into 8th, so something must have happened further back. Let's start by looking at what Artsy was doing though. At the start of the final lap, reverses down the track, actually went between myself and Heafy, and there was not much time there to do that. Far out, that was close. And then here comes the rest of the field. Oh, they all get through as well, but only barely. I think Chevy it was very, very close to making contact. Here it is, here's how it started. Big move down the inside, and it just didn't work for Artsy, and went spinning off. Great job to catch up to the field for the last couple of laps, and then absolutely no patience, went full send, and there was no space to do that. Not sure if it was contact with Sparrow or the apron, but one or the other sent Artsy into a spin, and there was no recovery from that. Then Artsy started doing some burnouts. Should have just kept going, wouldn't have gotten in the way of anyone, but oh my goodness, there's the onboard with Heafy. That is not what you want to be seeing on the start of the final lap. Here's the onboard with Chevy, who got very close as well, far out. That was millimeters away from disaster for all involved. That was ridiculous. There's Chevy into the back of Furbz, and Furbz did a fantastic job to save that. That car was headed for the fence. Oh, and speaking of headed for the fence, that is, I think, Jester and Banana Notto off the road back there. Something's happened further back as well. We'll stay on board with Chevy, see how this plays out. Chevy managed to get round Joken and up into third position, so strong finish to the race for Chevy, and Chev takes a P3. So, yeah, that was a little bit of a weird incident there. On board now with Jester around the outside of Banana Notto. Banana wants nothing of that, gets back in front. Sparrow on the inside as well. Banana loses control, tags Jester, and sends Jester flying off over the grass on the inside at warp speed. Jester tries to get back on, gets the reset, and that is a game over for Jester, unfortunately. All on the final lap. That's a real shame. for all involved there. Here's the onboard with Banana Notto. Let's see what happens here as a bit of contact with the back of Chevy and spins, tags Jester and Ash. I think Ash got away with it, and Banana Notto into the barrier, and game over. I've actually been saying the name wrong. I think it's just Bananotto, but that's really hard to say. Anyway, yeah, there it is from off board. Damn. That's a really unfortunate way for the race to end for those two. Yeah, there's the onboard with Ash. Gets a little piece of the action, but nothing too serious, and then immediately focus back on racing because here comes an opportunity. Oh, just about can't quite manage to find the gap there, but gets a position on Sparrow. Probably could have rounded up Furbz and Joken if there was just a bit more of a gap there to go through, but it's P4 for Joken, 5 for Furbz, P6 for Sparrow for Ash, and then P7 for Sparrow. Coming around to take 8th position is Cousin Ren. What a comeback after that spin earlier. And then those who are walking wounded on the way home, Jester, who got the reset, and then Bananotto, who has who has no speed there, so must be some damage to that car. And then Artsy has already finished a lap down, but yeah, that's a chaotic ending to that one, and it did not go well for all involved, but that is how it all happened here at Daytona. That's the end of the action. Saving that replay. But anyway, that is that. As for the championship standings, we did manage to get the fastest lap, the race win, and the pole position. The triple star, I think we're calling it. So that is 35 points straight into the bank account for me, which is kind of unbelievable. I knew that it would be possible going into this weekend. I really wanted it to happen, but you know, so many things had to go right. Even in qualifying, that was far closer than I ever could have expected. You know, throughout practice, I was winning qualifying by a second or so sometimes, and then to have it go down to, I think it was 0.067, I think was the exact number. Even that, Artsy did a great job in qualifying, as well as many others, to set, you know, lap times in the low 40s. That was fantastic. You know, really shows the progress that you know, we all made with our tunes and setups, and how you know, close we got the cars in the end, when to begin with they were not close at all. To begin with, we actually had the boost setting on strong, but that proved to be almost too much. Like the closing speeds that we were getting, and it was just kind of silly and dangerous. So we turned it down to weak, and for a while, you know, that made it too easy for the GT40s. But as you saw in that race, that was not too easy. Everyone was in amongst it come the final 10 laps or so. So yeah, the boost setting worked, kept everyone bunched up in a nice pack, and you know, strategically it added that interesting element of, you know, when we come out of the pits in last, drove real slow for a while to create that gap, went for the fastest lap, and you know, put in a lap time that was going to be, you know, more or less unbeatable, unless Heafy wanted to try to do the same thing. But yeah, it was a really interesting race, really fun race, a lot of strategy. 90% of the strategy is guesswork, but yeah, really intense, and most of all, so much fun. Like, that is easily the most fun race I've ever had in this game online. Like, I don't know, I mean, I'm not just saying that because I won, but it was genuinely a really enjoyable you know, a new challenge, because I've done, you know, oval racing, but not in this kind of format. So yeah, that was really cool to do. But anyway, that's enough fluffy stuff. Let's talk about the championship. It is myself in the championship lead, of course, after that race. 33 points for the win, +1 for the pole position and another for the fastest lap. Brings our total to 35. And then looking down the order, Heafy second, 30 points, and then everyone else just goes down in increments of 2. Chevy in third, ahead of Joken, Furbz. I mean, it's just the race finishing order, isn't it? It's Ash, Sparrow, ahead of Ren, Jester, Banananotto, and Artsy. After those final lap shenanigans, is last of the lot. But anyway, that is going to do it for this one, so I will say thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I really do appreciate it. Please feel free to give me some feedback in the comments. It's always very helpful. And other than that, I will see you in the next one, and goodbye.